Navigating the vast universe of Starfield is rewarding, but what if I told you there's a way to make it even more lucrative? In today's Starfield video, we're going to show you the fastest and simplest strategies to boost your credits and thrive in the cosmos. Whether you're looking to upgrade your gear or simply want that extra bit of cash, then we have got you covered. So in this video, we'll be going over the fastest and easiest ways to make money in Starfield. But just before we do get into all of that, I want to talk about today's sponsor, Instant Gaming. Instant Gaming is a fantastic website where you can get games just like Starfield for insanely cheap prices. You could pick up the standard or premium edition of Starfield for a really cheap price, cheaper than anywhere else. And of course, it doesn't just stop at Starfield. There are thousands of games on Instant Gaming for many different platforms and many different launchers that you can pick between. So be sure to use the link in the description to be able to pick up a great deal for yourself today. Anyways, getting on with the video. So when it comes to Starfield, with all weapons, gear and ships that you can buy, of course you need to have the credits to be able to do so. And we'll look at the best ways to get those credits in this video. So the first one is to actually get the commerce skill. Now, in my opinion and many other Starfield players' opinions, the commerce skill is basically the best skill in the entire game. Now, this basically means that you can buy items at lower prices and sell them at higher prices, so it's literally a win-win. And considering how much loot you're going to find in this massive game, then I'm telling you now, throughout your playthrough, you are going to sell a ton of goods to vendors, or at least you should sell a ton of goods to vendors, since you're going to find yourself collecting loads and loads of goods. So be sure to use this skill to be able to sell them at higher prices and also buy them at lower prices. There's literally no loss here. But do just remember to sit and wait for 24 hours in game to refresh a vendor's stock and cash. That's definitely worth doing if you find they've not quite got the cash that you need or they don't quite have what you're looking for. Just be sure to do that. Now, next up sort of follows on from that, and that is to loot everything and pickpocket absolutely everyone. Now, with Starfield being a massive RPG, you're going to meet countless NPCs and hostile forces. Likewise, you'll visit numerous locations on various different planets. Now, given these two things, you should definitely loot absolutely every single item of literally every single NPC that you run into. But of course, make sure that you don't get caught doing that. Next up is to unlock safes and vaults. Now, since you are basically stealing everything in sight with what we just talked about, you might as well unlock safes and vaults. This is improved via the security skill. Now, I have done a video going over the best skills and the ways to unlock those, and I will link that video in the description below. But yeah, this is through the security skill, which is one of the most useful skills in the entire game. Now, once you have at least one digipick, you can engage in a mini game of sorts where you collect the correct pins to unlock a container, and you get to do this very early on in the game, so it's probably something that everyone here is familiar with, but that is going to be a good idea. Next up is something I actually mentioned in a video where I went over essential tips and tricks. I'll link that video in the description below as well, but that is to do quick planetary scans and sell them to Vladimir. So Vladimir is a member of the Constellation faction, and you will find him in a space station known as the Eye. Now, after you do have an initial conversation with him, he will actually ask you to collect planetary survey data. Now, the first step does involve you going to a planet and scanning it while in orbit, and then you need to scan every fauna, flora, and landmark on a planet, which is going to be extremely time-consuming, don't get me wrong. But if you head to a gas giant or asteroid, or, well, places where your ship won't be able to land, a single scan counts as a completed survey. That does mean that then you can sell the data to Vladimir immediately, which leads to a very, very easy way to make some money in Starfield. Like I said, I mentioned that in a previous video, so if you watch that, then you'll be familiar with it. But that is definitely something, and I'd say one of the best ways to make money within this game. You can rack up some very, very high amounts of credits by doing that. Next up is a pretty standard one, and that is just to complete certain missions. So obviously you want to make sure you're completing story missions, you'll get credits for doing that, and also along with that, you want to make sure that you are completing bounty and survey missions. So mission boards are found in different locations such as bars in cities or the Constellation Lodge basement, and on these mission boards are objectives that net you different amounts of cash once you do complete them. And these do range from simple tasks of maybe taking out a specific ship or specific enemy, or there are those that are more involved, i.e. looking for a planet with a particular trait or landmark, which might be a bit more time consuming. But either way, no matter the mission, you're guaranteed to get some credits at the end of it, so definitely look at these. Make sure you're always just looking at some mission boards. Maybe you go past one, but there's a quick 30-second mission or something that you can quickly complete. You may as well do it, since you will bag yourself some extra credits, so it absolutely makes sense to go ahead with that. Otherwise, you're just missing out on easy credits. And along with that, like I did just mention, make sure you're just completing those story missions. You will get credits as you complete those story missions, so just keep that in mind. You're not, these things I'm saying here are the only ways to make credits within the game. Starfield, there's so many different ways that you can get credits, and it isn't going to be that difficult. Just going through the main story, you will find yourself just slowly just rack up quite a high amount of credits as you just progress through the game normally. But of course, these are just ways to get some extra credits on the side. If you're looking to, say, get the best weapons, I've done a video on the best and rarest weapons in the game, and you're going to need some credits for those as well. So obviously, these are just extra ways to do that, since to be able to get all the best items in the game, just going through the story missions alone probably won't be enough, and you might want to go through some of these methods. But yeah, just going through the normal story missions will be a decent way, but of course, just completing some of those bounty and survey missions alongside that would be even better. And if you just want to stick to the mission side of things on Starfield, maybe that's just what you want to do, then doing that and maybe just a couple bounty and survey missions will be a great way to get yourself a decent amount of credits. But past that point, if you sell stolen items and contraband, then you will also get some credits for doing that. So whether you're checking out bases, outposts and ships, do be on the lookout for contraband, and you can find these in large chests or placed on services, but make sure that you do loot this, since you can then sell it for a decent amount of credits. Definitely something worth noting. And along with that, you can actually board and take over ships and then sell them. Now, this does have to be a hostile ship that you encounter in space, and although a destroyed ship has debris and loot floating around, you'll actually be able to find more goodies inside cargo holds, as well as the corpses, of course, of the bodies inside of that ship that you've eliminated. So it's worth noting that you definitely should sell those ships, but just be sure that you do get that ship registered before you sell it, since, well, that's going to have to happen. So unfortunately, of course, there is that registration fee, but you should still gain a bit of credits once you have sold the entire ship. Definitely something worth doing if you just happen to come across a pretty decent looking ship. Sell it, get yourself some extra credits. And then lastly, just make sure that you loot absolutely everything you see. There is no harm in looting, and I've been looting an area and I've just found 300 credits. It's easy. It's an easy way to get some credits. It's a nice little bonus. It doesn't take long. Just as you're going through missions, just as you're walking from point A to point B, if you see anything you can loot, loot it. It takes a second. You may as well do it, and you'll get yourself some extra credits. But there we go. Those are the easiest and fastest ways to get yourself some money within Starfield. And by doing all of those methods, you will rack up a high amount of credits. If you just implement those methods into your day-to-day way of just playing the game, which is easy to do, those are pretty basic methods and things you can just, implement into your normal playthrough, then you will get some great amounts of credits when you can buy with some, great items with those credits. And that's it. It's as simple as that. Those are the best ways to make credits within Starfield. And yeah, that does just about wrap up things here. On screen now, you are seeing a link to a different video. Hit the link on the screen if you are interested in watching that.